Alexander Solzhenitsyn, a quote attributed to him. He said, "The strength or weakness of a society depends more on the level of its spiritual life than on its level of industrialization. Neither a market economy nor even general abundance constitutes the crowning achievement of human life. If a nation's spiritual energies have been exhausted, it will not be saved from collapse by the most perfect government structure or by any industrial development. A tree with a rotten core cannot stand." People are too focused on how the country's doing based off its GDP. And that's good, right? We're focused on, but it's the country's spiritual energies that matter more. We need to keep our spiritual life strong and healthy. Because if you're healthy, you're less likely to be infected with viruses, and there's plenty of those going around. I want to play this video here. So there's all these videos that people have been taking of sympathizers, as we talked about in the first segment, tearing down these posters across cities, mostly in New York City. So people in New York City will put up these posters and it says like kidnapped at the top. And big red letters says kidnapped, and then it's a picture of someone who's been kidnapped by Hamas, right? And some of them are children. And people will go down and they'll rip the signs down. They'll rip them down. Now they're doing broad daylight, and people will take video of them doing it, but these people are proud to be doing it, so the video doesn't matter. Now here's a video of a Muslim guy, I assume Muslim, tearing down these signs. Now notice that the original guy who's filming comes across like pretty weak. It's very like, oh hey man, what are you doing, man? Right? And then the video cuts to just two central casting New Yorkers. And notice the difference in posture of the guy tearing down signs. At first, very proud, he's strutting around. And then with just a little bit, well, maybe more than a little bit, with some masculine imposition, he starts to cower. Here it is.
Why'd you rip it off? Why'd you rip it off? Why'd you rip it off? Put it back. Why'd you rip it off? Put it back. Well, show me what you're holding. Yeah, keep it on. No, what are you doing? Do you know where they are right now? Do you have any idea where they are right now?
All right.
I'm a veteran. I'm telling you.
All right.
Don't do it.
I'm not Jewish. He's not Jewish. I don't know if he is or not. Doesn't matter. This is the U.S. This is New York City. You don't have a right to touch that. This is a free country. You can wave your Palestine flag and say death to the Jews or America whenever you want. But we can put up signs, okay? Then don't rip that down. You are doing something. You're offending us. Yeah, you are. When you throw that on the floor, you're littering the city. In a minute, I'm going to litter the floor with you.
You have a proof?
So move the on. Do you have proof they're not kidnapped? No, so shut the up.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I know that's what you want. I'm dying to put you in the hospital.
Come on.
You piece of
Notice the guy's like, right? He starts doing this. My favorite part is, I don't know if you could hear the guy. He said, "Oh, it's litter. This is littering." I love that. But if you notice, like as if like, oh, we shouldn't. You're not like he's like an HOA board president or something. Like you're not allowed to put like signs on poles. But on one of the signs he ripped off on the pole, there's two signs. One's like a furniture sale coming up on this Saturday, and the other is the kidnap sign. And he only rips down the kidnap sign, of course. But you can see like that's his cowering. Like at first he's very proud, strutting around, and then a little bit of masculine imposition, and he just cowers down to the blabbering idiot about like, oh, it's littering, it's littering. Our friend Douglas Murray, he said, more men in the West need to behave like this. Don't just film evil people pulling down posters of kidnapped children. Confront them. So someone stumbled upon that construction man. Here he is.
This is how the superstars. Oh, go ahead, just say whatever you just told me.
No, I'm not a superstar. I'm just a regular guy who didn't like what I saw, and it shouldn't be celebrated what I did. It should be normal. Everyone should react like that. This shouldn't be a news story because someone doesn't like posters of murdered children and kidnapped children being taken down. This should be the norm, not the exception. What that guy was doing should be the exception. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Listen, let me shake your hands, guys. Thank you. Let me see the comment. Yeah.
So, at first it takes that one man, but actually he had a crowd, right? There are people behind him as well. There were other construction men there. He was just the one taking the lead. And then the coward will cower. I know I mentioned this in the first segment, but it's worth reiterating, thinking about. Do you remember 9/12? Do you remember September 12th? 2001? Do you remember the day after September 11th, the unity we had in America? I don't know if we'll ever feel that again. I think if it ever happened again, I think you'd have, 70% of young people think, George Bush, caused this. It was George Bush's fault, or, we did this, and Osama had a pretty good, it kind of made sense, actually. What in America is pretty bad, and we've done bad things around. I think you get a lot of that. I think you get, if we had a terrorist, I don't know. I think if we had a terrorist attack like this, again, I don't know if the sleeping giant will awake from its slumber. No matter what happens, I think the sleeping giant has been poisoned. Because the enemy has planted a virus inside of our culture that makes us tolerant of evil. The social justice crowd has so perverted the concept of justice that we're told to ignore justice in the name of toleration. We need to be tolerant of evil even. But to tolerate evil is to deny justice. Be clear. Notice there wasn't after the Hamas terrorist attack, there wasn't a lot of talk from the social justice crowd about justice. Romans 12 says, abhor what is evil and hold fast to what is good. Abhor it. But instead we're told to tolerate it. Jesus in Revelation, he's calling out different churches and he says, I have this against you, to one of the churches. He says that you tolerate the woman Jezebel. But that's what we do. We tolerate evil. And because of that, there will be judgment on us. There's no question. We made tolerance a virtue over truth. God doesn't. Psalm 5:4 says, for you are not a God who delights in wickedness. Evil may not dwell with you. The boastful shall not stand before your eyes. You hate all evildoers. You destroy those who speak lies. The Lord abhors the bloodthirsty and deceitful man. We don't. God does. We don't. We tolerate it. We tolerate it. Let me end on this. This has been a theme on our podcast lately, that God is always in control, because we need that peace. We need that peace of knowing that. Things seem chaotic and out of control, but we need to know that God is always in control. So this is seen in Acts 3. So Peter just rebuked the Jewish people, right? I was like, hey, you killed Jesus, right? And then he says, I know that you acted in ignorance, as did also your rulers. But what God foretold by the mouth of all the prophets, that his Christ would suffer, he thus fulfilled. And that's such a great line, because it's so easy to just read right past that quickly, like I often do when I'm reading the Bible. I just read it, and it's like, I don't really understand that, you just move on. But the word thus, he thus fulfilled. What does that mean? He says, you acted in ignorance, right? You Jews, you acted in ignorance. Your rulers acted in ignorance, right? But through your ignorance, God's will was fulfilled. It didn't matter in the end. God's will was still fulfilled. God will fulfill his good purposes in spite of and even through the opposition of ignorant people. So know that when you're watching the news and you're taking this all in, and it's going to be a crazy time coming before the election year, know that God will fulfill his good purpose in spite of and through the opposition of ignorant people. That is an amazing thing. Praise God for that. So when you feel discouraged by the disorder and the chaos and the ignorance around you, and know that things can get much worse, God hasn't disappeared. Peter said, you ignorant people, your rulers are in it, but it didn't matter. God fulfilled his purpose anyway through those ignorant people. So no matter what kind of opposition we face, no matter what kind of ignorance is ruling the day, nothing is beyond God's power here. Let's be grateful for that. God will fulfill his purposes always. So don't let people fill you with fear. Fear is a tool to control. Have peace that no matter what is going on, he thus fulfilled.